Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being patient with us before the meeting with the late start. We'll start the meeting now. Let's all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll just note that we have everyone here tonight. Oh, thanks. Just note that we have everyone here tonight for roll call. And I'd like to announce we had an executive session prior to the meeting tonight to discuss personnel, and we will be having an executive session, a short executive session after the meeting tonight. Is it tonight? Okay. Okay, not tonight. So just before the meeting to discuss personnel. I know we're a full house tonight and we have some presentations to make, but also if we have anybody here for public comment, I don't have any public comment forms, but is anyone here at this time for public comment on agenda items? All right, so we will move into our presentations and recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Tonight, the board would like to recognize the middle school Future City competition team led by Mrs. Frasca. And at this time, we would like Mrs. Frasca to come up and talk a little bit about her team, if she would please. And we have some recognitions from your team members, Mrs. Frasca, and I know Mr. Alexander would like to help you pass them out. So please tell us a little bit about your group, what they've accomplished.
We did a lot, right? A lot. So the Future City competition is a 3-part competition. They have to write a 1,000-word essay and do a ton of research. The topic this year was senior citizens, so they had to research senior citizens and then design a city somewhere in the future where ideally senior citizens will be treated with dignity, respect, and be safe, healthy, happy parts of the community, and they did a really great job. They had to build a scale model of the city, and they had to build a virtual model of the city. And they were recognized as future young engineers at the competition.
At this time, I would like your team members to come up, and Mr. Alexander will help present.
Sure. I know most of these names.
Yeah, okay.
Sure. You're fine?
Please.
Brianna Getzi? Congratulations. Good job. Yep, Stephen McPhillamy? Good job, Stephen. Congrats. Aiden McHugh? Great job. Caitlin Mayberry? Nathan Strichik? Theo Nat? Angelia Hollinger? And Alina D'Amico.
Before the group sits down, there's a couple questions by the board members that maybe you can help us
Sure,
with.
maybe you guys can answer. Why don't you take it?
First of all, congratulations to you, but I was wondering where we could, as a board, see your works.
Oh, we'll be at the Tech
Is there like a?
We'll be at the Tech Expo.
Oh,
with
okay.
all of our work. Yep,
Okay,
we'll
do
be
you
at
know
the
when
Tech
that is?
Expo.
May 10th.
May 10th, 8th? 10th, May 10th. We'll be at the
Thank
Tech
you.
Expo, yep.
Look forward to seeing it. Great.
Very good. Congratulations, and thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 5.1 and 5.2.
Motion and a second for approval of the monthly board action minutes for February 13th and February 27th meetings. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Moving on to item 6, receiving the accounts for audit.
I move that we accept the high school accounts, middle school accounts, and cafeteria accounts as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
I move that we approve the payments of invoices in the amount of $4,566,365.46 for February 2018 as presented. Oh, Scott.
Second. Motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
I have two questions. The first, did we receive the check details from last month yet, Mr. Nestor?
That is in transition. We had to make a switch within the system, so the month of February can't run that report the same way you see right now. So starting next month, you'll see that.
And second, the $3,400 for annual inspection of backboards. I think I saw a note that something the insurance mentioned. Is that I know nothing about inspecting backboards at all, but it seems pretty high to me. Is that the going rate, or?
Mr. Cardwell could chime in, but they basically, our insurance carrier does an annual inspection, safety inspection of our buildings. This was one of the items that they identified as something that we should be doing on a regular basis. It's a pretty extensive process. Do you want to?
Correct. It's not the backboard itself. It's all the steel structure that supports it. So someone actually goes up on a lift and looks at every nut and bolt on there, making sure that there's no wear and tear and the system will collapse down on someone. So you figure that school has roughly 6 basketball standards in there. So to do 2 schools, just the basketball equipment itself is a full day. Each building takes a full day. And you'll see another instance where bleachers have to go through the same inspection too. So it's an annual inspection that is needed to be done. And in the future, you'll even see one for lighting trussels inside of our auditoriums. So we used the vendor that installed all the equipment here at the high school because it was an urgency that we needed to have the inspections done. In the future, we will shop around to see what other vendors are out there. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I move that we approve the treasurer's report for February 2018 and presented and file it for audit.
Okay, motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the treasurer's report? All in favor? Aye.
Okay, moving on to the report of the superintendent. At this time, I would like our board reps, Mason McIntyre and Junior Savannah Lear, to please report out. Thank you.
Okay, so I will start. I'm going to do the elementary schools, then Savannah will do the middle school and high school. So we just have a couple of, I just have a couple of events to announce. At Lower Pottsgrove, they will be having the Grandparents' Day, March 22nd and March 23rd, for 3rd and 4th graders on March 22nd, and then 5th graders on March 23rd. For Ringing Rocks, they will have a book swap on March 21st. And West Pottsgrove, they will have a Good Citizen Luncheon March 23rd, and they will have a zoo assembly on March 28th.
For the middle school, the parents' workshop will be on March 26th, and you can be a part of the conversation. And the middle school spring musical will be held from March 15th to 17th, starting at 7 p.m. every night. The high school spring musical will be held from the 22nd to the 24th, all starting at 7. The students of the high school are hosting a walkout tomorrow, as you all are aware, and is to remember school shooting victims and vouch for change. And I know last meeting, there was a big conversation about the AP seminar class that was approved, so I took some time out and did some research on it, because there was a big talk about the colleges, how they take it and what they will take for. So I did for most of the Pennsylvania state schools, well, a very good majority of them, they offer them as an electives and only will take them from high school as elective classes. They will not accept it as a core, and they do not teach it as a core either. So just because I know some of you were a little on the fence about that, so I just...
Savannah, if I just for clarification, so our state colleges and universities will accept that for an elective credit, so it will carry a value from high school to college?
Yes.
Is that, okay, thank you.
I must have missed it, but the middle school and high school musicals, what are they doing this year?
The middle school is doing Tarzan.
Tarzan?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the high school is doing, to be honest. Peter and Starcatcher. Oh, yeah, they're everywhere. I should have known that.
Any other questions for our board reps before they? Mrs. Custer?
For tomorrow, you guys, I mean, we've seen lots of stuff about it all over Facebook, and we've gotten letters and stuff, but do you feel the students are well prepared and, yeah? And are they, is everyone going to be dressed warmly enough? Because it's going to be cold outside tomorrow, and I know how high school kids leave the house in the morning.
Oh, yes.
Not nearly warm enough.
We never really stressed the weather. I would hope that they use their brains tomorrow and put on some extra layers. But, because I know I will, because it's going to be really cold. But I'm excited, and I think it's really important just to stress again. I know that, social media can go a little bit rampant sometimes. But I think honestly what it comes down to is that we're doing this to memorialize the students, because that could be us, and that's the scary part, is that it could happen anywhere. And I think that it's really important to recognize the memorial and recognize that the students from Parkland are asking us to do this. They've asked schools nationwide. So just to get those 2 points out there, everybody wants to grab a hold of one point about, gun control this, gun control that. That's not what I'm at least focusing on, and that's not what I believe most of the students who are organizing it are focusing on either. So I just feel like that's 2 important points just to put out there.
All right, well, thanks, Mason.
Thanks, Mason.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 10, action items for personnel.
I'd like to make a motion to combine 10.1 through 10.5.
So moved.
Do you have a motion to combine 10-1 through 10-5? Anybody, any questions or? Bob?
I just seconded it.
Oh, okay. Questions or comments? Motion in a second. Now I jumped the gun there. All in favor? Aye.
Motion to table item 10.6 till next time.
Second.
Got it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to table 10.6. Okay, so we'll move on to, okay, sorry. We need a vote on the motion to table. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed to that? Okay.
Okay. Bob, and then Patty. Correct. Okay, moving on to Number 11, action items for business. The district recommends the approval of the sponsorship agreement with Reading Orthopedic Group, ROG, for the 2018 through the 2020 school year as presented.
Okay, a motion and a second. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I have one. Did we? Okay, go ahead.
It was just, the question was whether this deals with Marketplace or is this, or? It is, Market Street, excuse me.
That was
This
my
is the same
question,
thing.
too.
Okay, all right.
If they did it, or do we do it on our own? Can we even, we can't do it on our own, right, because of the contract? Yeah, okay. All in favor? Aye.
Moving on to 11.2 budget transfers. We ask the board to approve budget transfers for February 2018 as presented.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Okay, moving on to item 12, the Joint Operating Committee. We have reports. Mrs. Grimm.
Well, we've been very busy over at the Western Center, so I have a full report. The Western Center continues to offer tours and are continually receiving new applications. Currently, there are 280 online applications in process. Important to note, the deadline to apply online is next Thursday, March 15th.
This Thursday.
This Thursday, I'm sorry, yeah, this Thursday. Wow, it's already. The Western Center has very successfully went through their Perkins review, and there was no corrective actions, which is very good. Mr. Morrison was invited to the U.S. Department of Ed to sit on the CTE panel to discuss the course of CTE currently. He has contacted the U.S. Department Secretary of CTE to tour our facilities. Students are preparing for the NOCD testing, and for those of you who aren't really familiar with NOCD testings, the NOCD measures the skills of those who compete a secondary or a post-secondary technical program. Job-ready credentials consist of both a written and a performance component. I would like to wish best of luck to our students competing in the FCCLA, which is Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, this Thursday and Friday. I do have a list of students who competed in the District Skills USA events in January, and I would like to congratulate all of our Pottsgrove students. So first place for dental assisting, we have Jessica Constanza. Jessica will be competing in Hershey to the state level of competition. Second place was cosmetology, Casey Kunnick. Third place was cabinet making, Charles Spicer. Advertising design, Alexi Knifer. Automotive service technology was Bruce White. So if you see our students, congratulate them. They're doing wonderful. Mr. Morrison is excited to announce that the Western Center will now be a Subaru University, where students will obtain industry certification via online training and in-class seminars to achieve multiple levels through Subaru. The end result will be a direct connection to Subaru. They're hiring personnel and will hopefully turn into a full-time positions upon graduation for our students. Subaru is in need of over 4,000 Subaru certified mechanics on their floors, and being a Subaru University will allow our students the opportunity to fill those positions. That's awesome, awesome news. Mr. Morrison has invited Thaddeus Stevens for a tour. The goal for him is to establish and agree that they will allow our students to earn multiple credits, and looking to have our Western Center instructors become adjunct professors. It's all good stuff. Then I just thought what I do is I picked a couple of the classes that had some things that were interested, that I thought was great. The biomedical and health science technology students continue their clinical rotations in various departments at Phoenixville Hospital. They will continue with clinical every Monday and Tuesday throughout the end of the school year. Level 2 and 3 are completing their case presentations, and they did a fabulous job. I got to actually meet with the students for that, and I was just seeing these young students with such inspirations, it's great. They began the introduction to medical technology this week, and they're studying diseases and disorders. Level 3 students are getting ready to attend a clinical at the Park House Adult Daycare. Our computer information system program, Level 1 students continuing to work on the program of study, PC repair, maintenance, soft skills, and I like this one, working with customers. Level 2 and 3 students are working on network education. The electrical occupation students, 9th grade students, are learning a 3-way switching. Level 1 students are learning nail and boxes on NM cable. Level 2 and 3 students are learning lighting, layout, and design. Sports medicine students wrapped up hand and wrist unit, began learning the anatomy of the elbow. Talks began on morals, and ethics, and some of the tough situations that they're placed in, and also researched some legal cases, which I thought was very interesting. Just so you know, the Western Center's calendar is all up to date. Flyers for the summer camps haven't even gone out yet, and we already have 26 enrolled. So if you want to get on the website and see what they have, don't wait. Just a reminder to follow the Western Center on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and our next JOC meeting will be April 7th.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Moving on to committee meetings, the Operations and Facilities meeting from the 13th of February. We're going to ask that the board accept the minutes for that committee meeting as submitted.
Motion and a second for the Ops and Facilities Committee meeting minutes from the February 13th meeting. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
The Curriculum Integration and Technology Committee meeting from the 20th of February. We ask that the board please accept those minutes of that group dated February 20th of 2018 as submitted.
Motion and a second. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Policy Committee, we're asking to the Policy Committee meeting that was scheduled on the 27th of February to have a report out.
All right, so we looked at a number of policies again. We started with 005, the organization policy. Looked at a couple things that we're going to recommend changes in. The first meaning just in order of the policy, removing physician and school dentist, needing us, the board, to approve that. That's done administratively. So that was taken out. Also, the current wording of chairperson and co-chairperson. Co-chairperson was taken out, but I think we might have some discussion here. Following the committee, we had some online discussions, so Jim can bring that up. And there was wording, the current policy states adding 2 members. Let me check the wording on that. And adding 2 other members, but we changed it to 2 or 3 to fit current procedure, how we're doing things, but just can't go over 5, or can't go over 4, I guess. Then we discussed policy 310 and creation or eliminating policy 310, which is titled abolishing a position, and creating in its place about policy 311 titled reduction of staff. This was done for the purpose of bringing us in line with legislative requirements. It's something the state put out that we had to have something in regarding economic suspensions. Suspension, in other words, is of a position. So that was added and clarified in 311. Policy 246 was I believe our wellness policy, school wellness. This is a requirement, I believe, from the federal level that we have in place, that we added and changed some wording to match what the legislation requires of us. One of the things that Dave and Kate are going to be kind of overseeing is getting the committee, the wellness committee, up and running again, which statute requires that a board member be represented on that committee. Last policy we looked at was 209.2, serious allergies. And Kate, do you have anything to add on that? It follows basic procedure. The nursing staff was consulted with in this regard, and I want to point out we get a lot of praise, comments from parents regarding how well our nurses do. So thankful for that. The policy really doesn't change anything, I don't believe, that's in place. It just puts on paper the great work that the nurses and building principals are doing, and teachers to keep the students safe. So that work will continue, but now we have it documented on paper. I believe that is it for the policies. Anybody want to add anything? Dr. Harding?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah. So I had my mic on that whole time, sorry. I know we had some input from a parent or parents regarding a policy on allergies. And I guess the concern was, one, that we didn't have a policy maybe, and now we do.
Right.
But then also the consistent application of the policy from school to school. So there was a concern that different schools had slightly different procedures or rules around, what you could bring into class, or where kids sat based on allergies they have, things like that. I was just asking, will the policy cover that so that we give the schools the guidelines that they need so that we can do the same right thing everywhere?
I'll ask Ms. Pacito to comment on that, but what I would say is we received that night that policy that we reviewed, but also administrative regulations, which we did not review, as that doesn't come under our responsibility. But those, I believe, were more specific in regards to how things would be done day to day. But Kate, do you want to add to that?
Sure. I mean, you basically just captured it. It's something that I've been working on with our health team, both the policy and the administrative procedure. So we've spent a good amount of time reviewing what other local districts are doing, our 504 guidelines and responsibilities, so that with the board's blessing and approval, we'll be able to do some additional training to just ensure that continuity from building to building. But I'm confident that we're really taking the right steps in this area.
And I guess it's probably different, between Weston Rocks and the high school.
Well, a student's age and their ability to self-care and know the accommodations that they need and developmentally, that's definitely a factor.
And I believe some certain criteria are dependent on if a student has a severe allergy in a room, then extra precautions would be taken.
Yeah, right. So I just was thinking about this, like in the elementary schools, they have classroom snack time, right? So I know they all, there's an aide or two in every classroom, and the kids pull the snack out and they actually look, and if it says it may contain nuts, and they have one of those restrictions in their classroom, they don't eat that snack that day or open it. But whereas like the high school, I don't know what the actual rules are, but there might be a kid who just like brings his breakfast to class, or finishing a granola bar while, during first period or something, and there might be a kid in the classroom. I don't know if we have, so that's why I was saying that the
Right.
guidelines would be different probably from school to school, just basically because the kids change in what they do and what they're allowed to do and when they do it as they get older.
They are to some extent, and by and large, our nurses, but also our principals and our classroom teachers, they're very attentive in this area, and I think that we really get the job done to keep kids safe. So I'm really happy with the work that we're doing to have this policy, and I'm glad for the feedback that we got from the community and the parent community, because I do think that that's an important step to memorialize what we're doing. But I think that our health team, our part-time nurses, I think everybody's really on the same page, and they do a fantastic job. So I don't really have any concerns in that area, but I do think that this is a necessary step and one that we owe to the district and our community.
Thanks.
Mhm.
approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Parker, and then Mr. Alexander. New business.
Any new business at this time? Yeah. So, yeah, well, you said one thing, but I had the broader question. We were supposed to discuss budget surplus at the ops meeting, and we held it over to here because we ran out of time anyway, so.
I was going to send it out as a board update this week, but we can certainly do that. Take one, those of you who were on the board in the fall remember that we had a surplus last year of approximately $1.5 million. And we had discussed various reasons for that surplus, the items that caused the surplus, and then also, apologize if I ran out on you there. At the end of the presentation, I had a recommendation of how we could use the surplus, but we wanted we wanted to get some board input on how to move forward, and at that point in time, the board elected to wait until the new members took their position to see what their recommendations were. Some of it's a good thing that we did, because one of the items that I had recommended is that we set aside $200,000 to fund a new software package for the accounting department, because we had been notified that our current software package was going to be end of life from June of 19. As things evolved, a new company took over our software product, and they were actually at Pottsgrove last week. Ron and I both met with the representatives there. We had a breakfast with 5 or 6 potential new districts in Pennsylvania that are going to be buying the software. So we're really happy that the new software company came aboard. They seem to be putting a lot of money into the product. Our annual fees are going to be going up, but we did do some query, and I'll present that information to you probably in a board update. But we found that even their new annual fees are very comparable, if not lower, than other Montgomery County districts are paying for their softwares. So, but in any case, we don't need to use that $200,000 of our fund balance, of our surplus from last year for that purpose. We had in the past taken any monies that we had refunded from the Western Center and committed them to help defray the cost of future increases at the Western Center. Last year, we received $189,173 from the Western Center as a refund to Pottsgrove School District. So I had a recommendation that we do commit that to defray the cost of the Western Center budgets in the future. Some of that we may want to use to offset there is an increase in that line item this year. Even though their operating budget is going down, their debt service is going up this year as a result of refinancing a couple of years ago and getting all the way up to running rate for the bond issue. So we could use a portion of that. We also just received another $42,000 last week for the 16-17 school year. So I would recommend that we commit a portion of it, or that $189,000, and if we want to incorporate the $42,000 that we've already received this year, we can do that as well in that motion. And the final thing, the final recommendation is that that leaves about $984,000 of our surplus. And we know we're going to be spending about $3 million this summer in capital projects. That's going to make a big dent in the capital reserve fund that we have. We're going to have other issues that come up and recur year after year. And in order to defray the impact on the taxpayer, we recommend putting at least some of that $984,000 into our capital reserve fund for the purpose of those future capital projects. There are certainly other uses. We can leave it in the general fund and we can use it to offset tax increases. But when you do that, for 1 year, you might be able to offset all your expenses, but the next year that money's gone, and then you have an automatic increase the next year. So we try not to do that. Take that one-time revenue and use it to offset ongoing costs. So I would be happy to answer any questions. If we're not ready to make a motion tonight, we can bring this back up as a discussion item at our next meeting.
I'd just like to bring one thing up that always is in concern for me, is we have no capital fund, no monies for the Western Center if something went wrong. And I've been kind of lobbying this for years because the building's beautiful, it's still sparkling, kind of new, but if there was something that happened, it's going to come back to us, and it's not a budgeted item, that we're going to have to come up with money. So I would really like to see somehow, for us, I know we're getting refunds from the Western Center, but somehow get a plan that we have some monies saved up, that if we run into a problem over there.
If that would happen, I think it would fall to our capital reserve to help fund it as well. So it's just another reason to put some money aside in that fund.
So you're saying that if we could put money into the capital reserve, that's where we could pull it from for the Western Center. But I just get really concerned because if something major goes wrong, I know the other sending schools will be responsible for their part, but I just want to make sure that we're not caught off guard.
Can I ask, why hasn't the administration or board over there made some sort of plan so there is a backup
Basically,
plan?
the Western Center, all the monies go in, go out. We have nothing. All of our monies that go in, go right out.
And anything they have left
Yeah.
over comes back.
And yeah. And that would be something that we agree upon. It has to be agreed upon with all, Mark, am I correct in this, all 9 of us? All board members from the sending schools? 27, all 9 of us.
Whether it's right or wrong, the school code governing, and I call them the tech centers, and I know that it's not the current terminology, that's what they're called in the code, so I don't mean to offend anybody, but the Western Center cannot by statute have a capital reserve fund. It's limited, you can have it and you have to spend it within 3 years. So the money comes in and out and we pay as we go. And you also have to consider that there's, I don't know if you want to get into this tonight, it's a long discussion, but there are 2 different funding formulas. There's the operating, which is based on your students, and the capital, which is based on your assessment. So there's always been a difficulty if you put money up as we go. The money each year is based on our number of students, and it's a different formula if you're going to do a capital funding. So it becomes, I don't want to say complex, but it's been a difficult issue for the various boards because of different positions over the years.
question on the surplus and such like that. Have you put into any thought about the books that could possibly be used for the new curriculum if by chance the curriculum goes into improving additional sciences or anything for next year? Is that included in the particular budget that's coming up?
Yes, we budget curriculum adoptions each year. Certainly, depending on how many subjects are approved or something like that, we may have either a surplus or a shortfall in that area. But we do plan for adoptions each year.
The reason why I ask that is that would also be a perfect opportunity to use some of the surplus, being that it is a one-year expense. Obviously, overall curriculum is going to be every year, but the particular books would be a one-year expense. We don't know, obviously, who is even being recommended or how much it's going to cost, but it is an opportunity to use.
I look at purchasing books like purchasing light fixtures and paper towels. It's something we have to buy every year. We may not have for the last few years, but you know, now we're back into a cycle, and I think we're going to be continually renewing that cycle of textbooks.
No, we're not, and we weren't, we were going to discuss it in committee.
Right.
We ran out of time, and we thought this is something that the whole board ends up discussing at the last minute every year anyway, so here's the information, time to digest, ask the questions, make plans if we need to make plans otherwise, but sooner than later was the whole, you know, budget goal this year on everything. So we don't have to do anything tonight, just, yeah.
I'd like to ask one question, and obviously I want to make sure it's going to be here or not, since it's about the budget and such. Has there been any thought of possibly being more aggressive with using the PEASR fund?
I will bring a copy of the budget plan next year for the PEASR's fund, but we are planning on using $900,000 in the 18-19 budget. And in addition to that, we've made some significant cuts throughout the budget this year as we move forward. So I'm not anticipating the level of surplus that we've had in the past. 17-18 may have some, 18-19 I'm not expecting much. So we have $900,000. We could use a little bit more. It just changes the plan, the length of time that we'll have it available to us. That's all. But yeah.
Put you on the spot. I knew you were ready tonight, either way, so. Okay, any more new business before we move on? Okay. Okay. All right. Second opportunity for public comment. Anybody would like to make public comment at this time? Okay. Try not to. All right, we'll adjourn the meeting at this time then. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and have a safe trip.